Today, we're diving into an incredible story about faith, gold, and power. We're going to see how a new religion from the Arabian desert, carried along ancient trade routes, didn't just reach Africa, it completely reshaped it. So let's get right into it. It's a pretty big question, right? I mean, how can an idea, a belief system, combined with something you can actually hold, like salt and gold, lead to the rise of massive armies, legendary kings, and empires that stretch for miles? Well, that's the story we're piecing together today. Okay, before we jump into the deep end, we need to get a handle on the language. We're going to quickly go over a few keywords. Trust me, knowing these terms will make the whole story click into place. First up, we have Islam. It's an Arabic word and it literally means to give oneself to God. This idea of submission and devotion, well, that's the absolute foundation of the entire faith.
So it follows that a person who practices Islam is called a Muslim. They are the ones who surrender to Allah, which is the Arabic word for God. Simple enough, right? Islam is the religion, and a Muslim is a follower.
And at the very beginning of this story is Muhammad. For Muslims, he's believed to be God's final prophet. Born in the city of Mecca, he's seen as the messenger chosen to bring God's word to the world. And where did all those messages from God go? They were collected into the Quran. This is the holy book for Muslims, kind of like the Torah is for Jewish people or the Bible is for Christians. Now, this next one, the Hijra, is a huge turning point. Muhammad's new teachings weren't very popular in his hometown of Mecca, and things got dangerous. So he and his followers fled to a new city, Medina. This journey was so important that it actually marks year one on the Islamic calendar. And finally, we have the Hajj. This is the special journey, the pilgrimage, back to that holy city of Mecca. For every Muslim who is able, it's a religious duty they must complete at least once in their life. And as we'll see, this journey becomes a really big deal later on. All right, so we've got our key terms down. Now let's get into the actual story. How did this all go from one man's vision in the desert to a religion that would shape empires across the world? So here's a quick look at the key moments. It starts in Mecca, where Muhammad, around the age of 40, says he received a vision from the angel Gabriel. At first, his message about one single God got him into trouble, forcing him to flee to Medina. That's the Hijra. But here's the crazy part. Just 8 years later, he comes back. And he's not running anymore. He returns with an army of 10,000 followers and establishes Mecca as the center of Islam. When he died a few years later, it wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of Islam's spread across the globe. So what does practicing Islam actually look like? Well, it's built around these 5 pillars. These are the 5 main duties that all Muslims share, and they're what really unite people across the world. It includes everything from the daily declaration of faith and prayers, to giving to the poor, to fasting during the holy month of Ramadan, and of course, that once-in-a-lifetime Hajj to Mecca. After Muhammad's death, Islam didn't just stay a religion. It exploded into this massive, incredible civilization. This new empire became a global hub, a center for both powerful trade and brilliant new ideas. Let's take a look at how that happened. Pretty early on, a big question came up. Who should lead the community now that Muhammad was gone? This led to a split, creating the 2 main groups in Islam we still see today. The Sunni, who are the majority, believed the next leader could be chosen by the community, but the Shia believed the leader had to be a direct relative of Muhammad. And this civilization became a powerhouse of discovery. I mean, this is seriously cool stuff. They made huge advances in science, like figuring out the Earth is round and studying how light works. They basically laid the foundation for modern chemistry. In medicine, they built hospitals and were the first to really study how diseases spread. And math? You know the numbers we use every day? 1, 2, 3? They got those from India and shared them with the world. We even call them Arabic numerals today. Now, all this amazing innovation wasn't happening in a vacuum. It was all connected through a huge network of trade routes. And when those routes, full of goods and new ideas, pushed south across the Sahara Desert, they ran right into kingdoms sitting on mountains of gold. And that connection kicked off a true golden age for West Africa. To give you an idea of just how powerful these kingdoms were, look at this number, 200,000. That's how many soldiers were in the army of the Kingdom of Ghana. And here's the brilliant part. They didn't even own the gold mines. Their genius move was controlling the roads and taxing the 2 most important goods that passed through, salt from the north and gold from the south. They got rich by controlling the movement of wealth. You can see the pattern pretty clearly in this chart of the three great West African empires. First, you have Ghana, which gets powerful by taxing the trade. Then Mali comes along and takes it a step further by seizing control of the gold fields themselves. And finally, Songhai builds on all of that and becomes the biggest empire of them all. The lesson here is simple. If you control the gold and salt trade, you control everything. And speaking of wealth, just listen to this. When the king of Mali, Mansa Musa, went on his Hajj to Mecca, he brought so much gold with him and gave so much of it away that he actually messed up the economies of the cities he visited. He became so famous that a mapmaker all the way over in Spain called him the richest and most noble king of all the land. Can you imagine being that legendary back in the 1300s? But of course, this golden age couldn't last forever. For Songhai, the last and biggest of these empires, the end came because of new technology. An army from Morocco invaded from the north. They were way smaller, but they had a brand new weapon that changed everything: the gun. It was a swift and brutal end to an era of empires built on swords and control of trade. So what a story, right? Faith, trade, enormous wealth, and new technology. But if you're going to remember just two things from all this, what should they be? Let's boil it all down. Okay, here they are. First, the spread of Islam was way more than just a religion. It created a massive, interconnected world for trade and ideas that stretched across Africa, Asia, and Europe. And second, for the kingdoms in West Africa, the key to unlocking incredible wealth and power was simple: control the trade of two things: gold and salt. All right, to wrap things up, let's leave you with a couple of questions to chew on. We're not going to give you the answers. These are just to help you connect the dots and check your own understanding. First, think about cause and effect. What was the main reason, the cause, that pushed Muhammad to leave Mecca for Medina? And then, what was the big outcome, the effect of him coming back 8 years later with that huge army? And for the final question, think about Ghana. How did a kingdom manage to build a 200,000-person army and become legendary for its riches, even though it didn't actually own the gold mines? What does that tell you about how location and control of trade can be just as valuable as the gold itself? Something to think about.